Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles, and typically from the Big Apple in New York City, welcome to all my guests out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at caregiverdave.com, usually along with my lovely co-host Adrienne Gruberg at thecaregiverspace.org, but today she is busy, so it's just me, solo. And we're coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on numerous syndicated radio and podcast networks, on 26 global, count them, audio and video platforms, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo, Stitcher, Blog Talk Radio, CastBox, and a whole bunch more. In fact, we are proud to be voted number one, numero uno, caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM, and number two, caregiver podcast on FeedSpot out of the top 60, and number two again, caregiver podcast on caringvillage.com. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. If you like music, you're going to love this show. As we kind of call it, music, it's magical powers. And it does have magical powers, man. You can put those headphones on, go back to the 70s when you were dating your girlfriend, and you are there, man. Vincent and Joanne are on a mission to help more kids and adults reap the educational, therapeutic, and social benefits of playing music. And to help do that, they founded the national nonprofit Keep Music Alive and the two international music holidays, Teach Music Week in March and Kids Music Day in October. And they now partner with over 1,000 music schools and stores every year to offer free lessons to new students and to hold special events and benefit kids playing music. Wow. Over 24 celebrities and music brands support Keep Music Alive, ranging from Casio to Remo to Blackjack to Julie Andrews. This musical couple are also authors of 88 Ways Music Can Change Your Life. It's a book series, and it's featuring inspirational stories on how music impacted people's lives, sometimes dramatically. 88 More Ways Music Can Change Our Life was published in January 2021 and includes contributions from a number of celebrities. 80% of all 88 Ways music proceeds are donated to music education and service nonprofits. But before we get started, I want to thank last week's guest, Dr. Randall Bell, Post-Traumatic Thriving, The Art of Resilience. And just a reminder, you can hear that interview and all our interviews, including this one, on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, our free membership website, or any of our other 26 global networks that I mentioned earlier. All right, enough of that. Vincent, and I don't think Joan's going to join us today. She had some issues with a tick, and she's recovering.
Yes.
So welcome to the show, Vincent.
Thank you so much, David. It's great to see you. And I think all those networks you're broadcasting on, next I'm going to hear you talking about beaming it down from the space station.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for that idea. I'll call Elon Musk right now.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that we like to ask as our first question, just who is Vincent James and Joanne Pierre Domenico, and why were they placed on this earth?
Well, Dave, first of all, I want to congratulate you on the pronunciation of Joanne's last name, Pierre Domenico. I gifted her with that name when we got married, but I used my middle name, James, for all music-related things for the last 30 years.
That's a smart move.
It's just Pierre Domenico didn't work well on the marquee, when I'm playing live.
So you give her the long name, huh?
Yes.
What's her middle name?
She enjoys it. K.
K-A-E?
Like K-A-Y. K-A-Y.
That's my wife's middle name. She spells it differently, though.
Really?
I think Vincent James and Joanne K sounds a lot better, don't you?
Well, I'm going to bring that up with her and see if she likes that. So who we are, I mean, I'm a lifetime musician. It's been my part-time passion ever since I was a teenager, playing songs, writing songs. I've, been a songwriter. I've been a band manager. I've been a recording studio owner. I've booked shows. I've written custom love songs for couples all over the world through my other website, lovesongs.com, which is kind of like on sabbatical now because there's just only so many hours in a day, Dave. But I just always knew that there was something more that I was meant to do, maybe something a little more valuable to the greater community. And I just was listening to a podcast. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't a podcast. It was a teleseminar. Remember those, Dave? Teleseminar about how everybody has a book inside them they need to write. And I was drawn to that. You know how sometimes you're drawn to something, you don't know why, but you're like, I never thought I would write a book. I mean, I don't consider myself an expert on anything, really. I'm good at music and I'm good at engineering, but I'm not an expert at either one of those, certainly not back then. This was about 7 years ago. So I'm listening to the podcast and it just hit me like a bolt of lightning. Well, what about a book of inspirational stories of how music impacted people's lives? I wouldn't have to write anything. I would just gather the stories, edit them, and publish it. And that's kind of how we got going on our mission that ultimately became Keep Music Alive and then the 2 music holidays you described. And we've been just kind of tunnel vision going forward with that for the last 7 years. And just learning, we're not doing research ourselves, but we're researching the research of all the different benefits of music and just peeling back the layers of the onion and just getting so amazed at what we're discovering. And then through the stories that come in through the book series and then experiences with the music holidays, it's just really amazing. So when you ask who we are, I'm a music nut, and Joanne has, gratefully agreed to join me on my quest. And without her, really none of this would have happened to the level that it did.
Wow, that's a great answer. So let's start with the basics. What does music do to our brains? If we could only figure that out, maybe you've already figured it out.
Music actually it's a drug, right? It's a drug that you don't take through your mouth, you don't inject it, but you listen to it with our ears. And when you pull it in, it's creating, different chemical reactions, dopamine and other chemicals that are going on in our brain that it's increasing them. It can actually give you a runner's high, the dopamine feeling, when you're listening to music that really excites you. For kids, they've done research where we have this thing between our left logical side and the right creative side of our brains called the corpus callosum. Callosum, yeah, that's it. It's like a tunnel, where the neurons file back and, go back and forth. And the kids who have music education through their developmental years, guess what? That tunnel gets bigger, meaning they're getting more interaction between the left logical and the right creative side. And this is how we get, more scientists, doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs that are able to think outside the box and solve problems in ways that otherwise they might not have been able to. So that's, the educational value.
I think music should be a mandatory subject in school if that's what's happening to kids by doing that. Wow.
Yeah, there's a huge push. There was this thing called STEM, which is still around, science, technology, engineering, math. That's, focusing on these core subjects for kids in schools. And we've been able to insert an A in the middle, changing STEM to STEAM, and the A is for the arts. And there is, many organizations around the country and around the world that are rallying together over the last several years and, working with governments and school districts and trying to get, funding restored and added to have more music and arts education, because the kids that have that, they do better. The other research shows they do better on their science, they do better on their math scores, better reading comprehension. Kids who have music and arts class stay in school longer. The graduation rates are higher for schools that have that. So it's like it's a win-win-win-win. So find a way to make it happen, because the world's going to be better if we do that.
Vincent, you need to be speaking in Congress and to the White House. You all this stuff that they're trying to pass, no child left behind and this and that and this new math and some of this just doesn't make sense to me. But my gosh, if you could just add music to the curriculum, so simple, And apparently it gives more benefits than all the stuff they're trying to do. That anyone I meet who is at the White House, I'm going to say, get Vincent in there and talk about music. Have you had opportunities like that?
I have not, but there is an opportunity. We're members of NAM, which is the National Association for Music Merchants, and every year they do what they call a fly-in to Washington, D.C., where members of NAM come in and they meet with different members of Congress and the Senate that are from their particular districts, and they talk about just that. And so they've been doing this for a number of years, which is really why they've been able to get more arts funding over the last several years restored. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely going on in a big way, and we're so grateful to have a small part of it through the advocacy efforts that we do.
Yeah, and I've never heard anyone call music a drug, but I think you're right. And if we can just figure out how to get drug addicts to substitute one drug for the other, we can have a safe drug, music.
That's right. That's right. You just turn it on, and there it is.
It's true. I can hear this song, and all of a sudden my heart will ache because it'll remember when this girl dumped me.
Oh, Dave. It happens to all of us.
And then also a song will come on the radio, and that was my first kiss, and I'll be elated and jubilant. So it is like a drug. So
it's a magical time machine. It brings us back to that very moment.
You're incredible. So how can music, since my audience are caregivers, burned out caregivers, by the way, how can music connect you and your caregiving patients to your past? Music, the magical time machine, as you called it.
We often recommend, music in many ways. I mean, we're advocating, our mission is about playing music, but, when we go out and we speak and we advocate, we also talk to people about listening to music intentionally. And we don't just turn on the radio and just listen to whatever's playing. We all have music that calms us, certain songs, certain artists that calm us. We all have music that's upbeat, that brings us up, gives us more energy, gives us that feeling like Rocky running up the steps of the art museum.
Yeah, let's go dance.
Exactly, yes. So let's, create playlists that are catered, customized to, what calms you, what relaxes you, what excites you, gets your energy going, and then use those playlists intentionally at different points of your day when you realize that you need it. If you're if you just had a stressful time with your caregiving patient, you're going to get a little break. Well, don't just put on, the soaps or watch your favorite Netflix thing, for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Put on your playlist of the music, that drug that's going to come into your body, to your brain, is going to help to relax you and calm you. So listening to music intentionally, we think, is very critical. And you can do this also.
Sit in your backyard or amongst nature.
Yes, yeah. Listening to the birds with the music. I love the birds in the morning, except when it's 4 a.m. and I'm not quite ready to wake up yet. But listening to music with your caregiving patient also, talk about, obviously if you were married or you were close together, you kind of already know what their favorite music is, but maybe you're caring for someone you don't know as well. Have conversations about what were some of the favorite music that they grew up with, and share with them some of your favorite artists and songs, and listen, have like little listening parties where you experience each other's styles of music. And if you're able to, if the patient is mobile, try to go out to events where live music is playing. In particular, they're going to be performing the type of music that your patient really is drawn to, because you're going to see them light up. You're going to see them sing along, often moving their feet, whatever they're able to do physically and mentally, they're going to engage. We have, so many stories in the book series, but, just one real quick. The short part of it is, we've had someone who would come into a home, it's like a nursing home, a care home, and there's people, that are sitting there, and many of them have dementia and Alzheimer's. Some of them are literally catatonic. And the guy would start playing Broadway songs and singing, and then all of a sudden from the back of the room comes this beautiful voice of this woman singing along with him every song. And he finishes the one song, and then the aides rush up to him, "Don't stop, don't stop." This woman who's been singing from the back of the room is one of those late dementia Alzheimer's patients. Her head's been down, catatonic. She doesn't react. She doesn't interact at all with anybody about anything. And now she's singing these songs, word for word, melody, perfect with the performer who's come to perform. So, everybody, that your caregiving patients come, as you know, in all different stages and levels and needs. But use music in a way, just listening to music as a start, as a way to connect better with the patient.
Yeah.
And to try to use it intentionally to listen to music that they like, and again, on your own, when you get your 20, 30-minute break or whatever you're able to get at the end of the day, use music intentionally to calm yourself,
Yeah.
relax, and just take it in.
Yeah, we're so used to all this stimulus, watching TV and binging on Netflix and all that stuff. But, when I was younger, I used to have a playlist of all my favorite music and just go in my room and just lay down and just listen to it and think. And I don't know, maybe there were some illicit drugs back in the 70s too. I can't remember. But I just remember doing that. And why don't I do that anymore? And also, to what you said about the patient figuring out what age they are, what's their favorite music. Not too hard to figure it out. Just figure out how old they were in high school and what the music was. Typically for older patients right now, it's the 40s, it's swing, it's big bands, it's the standards. Yep. And it's true. I've sang in nursing homes too, and
oh, really?
you'd be surprised how people will just light up when you hit the music of their era. I used to. I took my mother to the senior center, our local senior center, because it was free lunch,
And activities, yeah.
Yeah, and so there was this old guy from Brooklyn, entertaining them. He had a piano player, and he was singing, and he was asking for requests. So I raised my hand. I says, "Yeah, do you know Paper Doll by the what group was it? Whatever group it was." And he says, yeah, I know that. And he comes down, he shoves the microphone in my face. He says, "Sing it." And so I started singing it.
All right.
And I got a standing ovation afterwards. And then after that, he used to bring me up periodically to do solos. And then he kind of disappeared, retired, and then I was the old guy up there singing. And
I love that.
I joke around and saying, "Well, you must be a good singer." I says, "Well, no, they're all deaf. They can't hear me, so they don't know if I'm good."
You got the melody across, and they recognize the song, and you reach them.
It's and now I have a whole repertoire of 40s standards, Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, Tony Bennett, and I really enjoy it. And now I do karaoke, and I love karaoke. I mean, I'm a karaoke nut. But unfortunately, all the last year, they shut down all karaoke, so I just got to do it in the shower.
It's coming back, Dave. It's coming back, Dave. And it's interesting, my wife, Joanne, who was going to relay a story of hers with her mother. Now, her mother had a stroke at one point, and she was in the hospital for a while, and Joanne would bring music with her to play. And, both, old songs and newer songs, and just, trying to help with her recovery. And, the nurses and everyone were just really excited that she was doing that for her. Now, her mother was never really, to our knowledge, really that much into music. Uh-huh. But the special thing that happened is when she eventually moved to a care home, and my wife's mother's brother from Japan, where her mother had grown up in Okinawa, sent a CD of music from her youth. Music that she had listened to and enjoyed back when she grew up in the 30s and early 40s. And when my wife played that for her, the tears came down, my mother-in-law's face. And my wife was like, "Oh, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's the matter? Do you want me to stop? Stop?" No. And she's like, no. I mean, she could barely speak. The stroke, she had trouble speaking, but she just hit her so. I'm going to cry now. It just hit her so powerfully. Like you said, the music from our youth it's documented. That's the music that we hold on to. The music of middle school, high school age. Yeah. What was popular at that time is what.
I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I can remember that song. Every single word of it. The Bye Bye Miss American Pie. And there's a lot of words in that song.
Yes, it is.
Every verse. Because that's all we did, We're driving in our car. We're constantly listening to music over and over and over and over. the grooves in our brain are etched deep with that stuff. And, my mother had dementia, and I was looking for ways to, entertain her and stuff. So I would bring pictures over, put them on the wall of the family. But what I really discovered is putting headphones on her with these standards that she grew up with. And since I was singing them already, we were singing together. And here my mother and I, who, I was having trouble finding things we can do together so that I'm not bored and she's not bored. And we were just singing all these songs one after the other. And, she didn't want to stop. I said, okay, we'll just keep going.
And what you find during those times is you will often have lucid moments with your relative or your care person.
It lets other things go too, yes.
Yeah, that weren't normally happening on a regular basis. All of a sudden they're back to normal. They seemingly back to normal for a small period of time, and you're able to connect to them on a level, that you were able to before. Yes.
It's a moment, and then that moment's gone. But, it was a moment. And then they'll feel good all day long, and they don't know why they feel good. It's because of that moment. So cherish those moments. Caregivers, I hope you're listening to this. Dementia caregivers, stroke caregivers, it works with anything. So we're going to take a quick break, so we will be right back. Don't go away.
Our featured speaker is a best-selling author who has written numerous books and articles. He's a speaker, life coach, and host of Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver radio program. He frequently appears on television and radio shows all across the country and has even shared the stage with Suzanne Summers at Harvard. But his most important role is caregiver to his beautiful wife, Charlene, for over 22 years. Please welcome Mr. Dave Nasami!
I want to share with you a love story. In a couple of weeks, my wife and I will be celebrating 44 years of being together. My wife, Charlene, and I had a fairy tale storybook romance, courtship, and marriage for the first 21 years of our lives together. One day, out of nowhere, my wife has a headache, the headache of her life. She suffered a massive stroke, and it left her severely speech impaired and paralyzed on the right side. And in that moment, our world turned upside down. I got to tell you, the next 2 years was like a living hell. I just didn't know what to do. I felt guilty most of the time. I became a caregiver. I didn't even know what a caregiver was. I was experiencing the same problems that other caregivers experience. If you don't take care of you, I can't take care of her. Well, that's why I wrote the book. Now I can teach other caregivers. I'm living proof that you can thrive as a caregiver. My wife and I travel now all over the world sharing our story. One day, life is going to call upon you to be the captain of your boat. Heck, you might be saving your own life. Thank you.
And we're back with Vincent.
I can't even begin to tell you again, Dave, how inspiring your story is. You and Charlene. We met you first in New York at an event. We met you both, and we were inspired then. And then seeing the highlights, of some of this talk, the speaking that you've done, about your experience, it's just touching.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's nice to be past it all and be able to look at it with fond memories, and of course we forget the nightmare that it was, and the grief, the two and a half years of grief, and almost wanting to give up, almost wanting to leave my wife because all she would do is complain and be angry, and I felt no appreciation, no love or anything like that. But I hung in there because I took my vows seriously, and pretty soon, after visiting at a support group, and they told me, you got to put your oxygen mask on first, and so I did. I just started taking care of me, being selfish, so I could take care of her. And slowly but surely, she started coming around, acting like her old self again, and our love was rekindled. And 47 years later, here we are, and I'm helping other caregivers not make the same mistakes I did, and she's come to new heights. She still can't talk, but she can communicate non-verbally through Pictionary charades. She still can't walk, but we have a power chair. We travel all over the world. We're going to London this September. I'm going to be speaking at the Royal Society of Medicine and the London Stock Exchange. And so she'll be right there by my side. And I'm just so excited that, I wouldn't want to repeat everything we've been through for $1 million, but I wouldn't want... I wouldn't want to ignore it all. I'm glad it happened, and I wouldn't trade the experience for $1 billion because we're totally different people. And music played a big part of it because many times when we were frustrated, I would turn on some music that we were dating with when she couldn't talk, when I couldn't talk, when all we could do was cry ourselves asleep, and we just lay there and listen to the music and remember how it was.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, David. God, God bless you.
That can make me cry.
As you can tell, I have a very soft heart. It's like when we got in some of the stories for the book series, we would read the story. And even today, when I retell some of the stories, you feel the tears starting to come on. It's just because, the emotions are just so powerful. So it's what makes us human, Dave.
I guess that's what makes us human. So let me ask you how learning about and listening to the music from our caregiving loved ones, youth, can help bring us closer together, which I just explained, and I think you touched on that. And then stories of how music has brought dementia patients out of a catatonic state fully into the present, talking and singing as if everything was completely back to normal. We spoke about that. And I just want to remind all you caregivers out there, whatever your loved one is suffering from, music can help, right? I can't think of one situation where music won't help
in some way
a loved one get better or cope or a caregiver get feel better. Can you?
Absolutely not. And depending on your caregiver patient's situation, you might even be able to introduce them to playing a particular musical instrument. It just depends on their situation. Musical instruments sometimes as simple as a ukulele or a small keyboard or a recorder or a harmonica can be something, depending on their abilities, what they're able to do.
Everybody knows how to play chopsticks, it seems like, or heart and soul, right?
This is how we all start, Dave. We start on the chopsticks, and the music teacher's looking at everything, what are you doing? But, it might be something that you could experience together with your patient, where maybe you and your patient can start learning an instrument together, slowly. And, it doesn't really matter what level you ever get to. But if they're able to experience even just a little bit of joy of learning to play a little bit on an instrument, that would be so worth it. The joy that they would get from knowing that, if they're able to hear what they're able to do, to hear when they strum the string. Ukulele is just 4-string, and you can play a chord with literally one finger on the left side.
Yeah. In a way, it's like a 1-year-old learning and seeing for the first time. Remember when your baby first, went to the piano and hit that button and, what was that? Or the guitar strings, many times with dementia patients, they're going backwards and they're like a 1 or 2-year-old.
Yes, and there have been stroke patients. We actually have a story from a stroke patient who played classical piano. And, after the stroke, she wasn't able to move her right arm at all. And she was dragging her left leg or right leg. But she was like, music was so important to her that she forced herself to sit on the, drag herself to the piano bench and start to relearn, sometimes stroke patients have to relearn how to walk and do different functions, how to eat. Well, she started reteaching herself how to play the piano because it was that important to her. And she believes, and there are others that believe that helps speed up some of her recovery and to make it, her improve better than she would have otherwise.
You actually met my wife, didn't you?
Yes. We were in New York together at an event, and we had lunch together across the street from the hotel. And love meeting Charlene and speaking with you guys. And just as I said earlier, we were inspired then, and I'm even more so inspired.
You and I both were pitching producers, and I remember we just went in there with the hope of in advance we said, okay, with these 40 or so, and maybe we'll get half or so. And it was off and on whether Charlene was going to come with me or not, but she later decided to come, which was great. It just felt like she was there contributing and supporting me, but she did so in ways that I never would have imagined because she was the hit of the party. Producers would see her coming in, in her wheelchair, and she was dressed like the Queen of England, and she was like radiating. They would walk all the way across that room, and it was a big room. Just to talk to her, she goes, "Oh my God, I saw you, and I just had to meet you." And they're holding her hands, and they're having, this conversation, and my wife's going, "Yes, yes, yes." And then she'll come to me and say, "Well, so what's going on here?" And I said, "Well, she had a stroke. She can't speak." She says, "What do you mean? We were speaking for like 5 minutes." I says, "No, you were speaking. She was communicating." So she was
Yes, and
responsible, I think, for doubling the number. Instead of speaking with 45, we spoke with 88 producers. And instead of expecting to get 20 or so, we actually booked over 40, and
yes,
mostly because of my wife, who can't
and
speak.
you said the active word there, David, when you said radiating. I couldn't think of a better way to describe meeting your wife, Charlene. She literally radiated from her position in the chair. Just
Yeah, how does
it
she
was
do
like
that?
I don't know if we could bottle that, we'd make a mint. It's just so beautiful.
Well, thank you for all those kind words. I'll make sure she hears this show. So let's talk about music and pain. Can music, is it scientifically proven that music can take pain away? For crying
Actually, it
out
is. I
loud?
mean, yeah, I know, right? They have done studies. There have been post-op rooms that have
Uh-huh.
introduced music for certain patients and lessened the dependence on the pain meds because
Wow.
they've discovered
Because it's a
that the
drug, right?
patients it's the patients that have the music coming into them during post-op, they are depending less. They're requesting the pain meds less,
Huh.
and that's been proven. There have been interesting. This isn't for pain, but there are surgeons that actually operate with music playing because they found that it just for whatever it is with their brain, it just connects them better and they perform better on the operating
Maybe it
table,
makes the
which is,
doctor perform better too.
yes, I mean, Einstein used to sit with the piano and a pad of paper on the bench, and he would sit there and let his hands just wander, and then he would get an idea for a discovery. He'd pick up the pad of paper, he'd write a little bit, he'd
Hmm.
put it down, he'd play some more, he'd get the next connection to the idea. He'd pick up the pad of paper, and many of his discoveries were because he was playing either the violin or the piano. But it's just for pain, they've just discovered it for people that have chronic pain. I mean, many of your caregiver patients are likely in some sort of chronic pain from different conditions. And by listening to music that they really enjoy, they'll find that they will need to depend less on the medications, which is something, we all want to try to reduce the number of medications we're on.
Sure.
I mean, it seems unavoidable as we get older, but but anything we can do to reduce them is a good thing.
So, when you talk about listening to music intentionally with carefully selected playlists to help reduce stress, um, as opposed to just turning on the radio and whatever happens to come on, what's the benefits of that, and how should we choose the songs? I know you touched on it before, but let's say somebody wants to come up with a playlist. Should they put all of the exciting songs in one playlist and all the relaxing songs in another, or should they just mix them up? I mean, what do you recommend?
I recommend separate playlists. One is I call it, chill out playlist, where it can be, and this is, it's not one size fits all. Some people gravitate more towards new age style music. Some people gravitate more towards jazz, other towards
Yeah.
classical. Some it's just like easy listening. For them, their relaxing music is, there's still vocals in it, but it kind of just sets them in that mode, and whatever they find they're drawn to. And if you're not sure, if they're listening, they're saying, you know what, I don't really know what relaxes me. Well, go out to Spotify or YouTube and experiment, and click on, type in, relaxing playlists, and choose a couple and see what you're drawn to, and then start to build your own playlist from those examples. And then conversely, if you want a playlist that's going to get you motivated, which I often do before an interview or an important meeting, or if I really want to get up, just create, your own, excitement, your own get up and dance playlist that gets you going. And, those songs I think we tend to remember a little bit more off the top of our head, whether it's, the Journey
Yeah.
songs, the Rocky theme or
Yeah.
whatever it is. we kind of have them closer.
Oldies but goodies.
Oldies but goodies, right? And for younger people, they have their songs now. That you and I may not like. Who is that? But
Hip
if
hop,
it gets hip hop,
punk,
absolutely,
alternative
whatever
stuff
gets you going.
that's hard for me to listen to.
Yes, I'm not a fan of all
But you
musical
know what? My
styles, but
parents didn't want to listen to what I was listening to when I was a teenager. Go
isn't
figure.
that funny how that is, right? The generations, change.
And my
I'm
wife
grateful
was older than me. She was listening to Elvis, and boy, he was the devil.
that it was the hips.
Let's talk about how listening to play how learning. Let's talk about how learning to play an instrument, even as a beginner, can be a very grounding experience and help reduce stress. Caregivers may currently read or watch TV during the little downtime that they have. Adding a creative activity like playing an instrument may serve to brighten their daily day and open up new avenues of their human experience. Now, my very first, I took piano lessons when I was younger, and of course, I was interested in playing. They forced me to do it, and I don't have much to show for it. But when my daughter was my age at that time, we gave her piano lessons, and she kind of had the same attitude that I did. So I tried to encourage her by sitting beside her and say, "Oh, what song are they teaching you?" It was Malagueña. So I made it a goal to learn Malagueña, the song that they was trying to teach her. And I upset her because I was doing better than she was, and I was so encouraged at how I was doing it after she had quit the piano, which it wasn't my fault, by the way. I says, you know what? I'm halfway through Malagueña. I am learning this sucker, no matter what. And it took me an entire year because it's not easy for me to learn songs because I'm not very, musical. I can look at music. I know what the notes are, but I can't just read it, like Mozart can.
Well, these were songs you learned many years ago. I had the same experience, Dave. Malagueña was one of the songs that I played classical pieces, back then. And I more recently, in my 50s, tried to relearn a piece from back then and realized how, while I could see it, it's retraining the fingers to go through those fast moments. You find out you need to spend a lot more time on it than we did.
5 years ago, I attempted to pull it out and see if I had forgotten it. I pulled the music out, and it took me about a month to learn it again, better than a year. And now I proudly play it as often as I can because, my gosh, I know a song. So then I got so bold that I'm going to teach myself another song. So I taught myself the song on Chicago, that song with the slow piano that's Color My World.
Color My World, I play that one, yes.
So, because it sounded very easy to learn, and
it's relaxing.
It wasn't that easy, but I know that one now. Then I decided I'm going to learn a third song, and so I learned Carole King's "You Got a Friend."
Oh man,
I know
my
3
favorites.
songs, and my goal was to keep learning a song, but I give it up. But I keep playing those because I don't want to lose them because I have so much invested in them. And, I'm worried about dementia, Alzheimer's, like everybody is, because my mother had it. And that will be a test for me. When I can't play that song, I know I got a problem.
Right. And, I don't know that there's hard research on it, but there is anecdotal research that by playing a musical instrument, you can potentially stave off the symptoms of dementia and Alzheimer's.
Puzzles.
And puzzles and things like that, because you're firing neurons back and forth between both sides of the brain, and you're making the brain activity, be up there. And as far as relaxing and learning to play an instrument, well, first of all, it doesn't matter what age you are to play an instrument. My one guitar student didn't start learning to play any instrument until he was 80 years young.
Wow.
And what's difficult for him to start then? Sure. But he got over the humps. He built up the calluses on his fingers. And he really wanted to learn. And so we play together songs that he remembers from, he's actually into the 50s and 60s songs and some of the 70s songs. We play and we sing along. And for him, it's very therapeutic. And his wife really strongly believes that it's helping to keep his brain, more active than it would be otherwise. So any age is fine. And then, Dave, when you're playing music, you probably experience this. You're living in the moment when you're doing it. You're not thinking about the difficult time you had with, your patient potentially. Earlier in the day. You're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. you're focused. You have to be focused on the here and now because you're,
Right.
where are my fingers going? Maybe you're reading music, maybe you're singing along to like a popular song, and your brain is forced to just focus on that here and now. And when we focus on the here and now, that's what helps to bring us peace. It
Yeah.
helps to ground us.
Yeah. I'm passionate about many things, but right up there is my passion for singing. I love to sing, and the more I sing, the better I get. And
Yeah.
my dream is to when I was at the senior center doing the singing, there was also on another night a big band that they would have. These old guys, with and they
Uh-huh.
were pretty good. And they had a soloist, who was usually a trumpet player too, and he would sing the songs, the way the big bands used to. And I kept saying to myself, I could do a little better than him. And I threw a few hints out, because that would be my dream to sing in a big band, for the rest of my life as an old guy. And they just didn't take the hints, or maybe there was just too much ego. And they says, who's this new guy? You haven't paid your dues. No, we're doing pretty good without you. But hopefully one day, as I get older and as maybe the singer dies off or something, they may need some young blood.
Send him a telegram, tell him he's needed, on the other coast for a while, and they're going to have an opening. I would say just keep putting yourself out there, with the karaoke, singing your favorite songs, seeking out other big bands that are playing and introducing yourself. Hey, do you mind if I come up and sing a song with you guys? Eventually, you're going to get some takers, and you're going to get up there, and then they're never
I've
going to
said
stop
that,
you.
and no one has ever turned me down. And then usually when I'll sing the song, they say, "Wow, you're really good," and I always wonder, are they just being kind, or are they, But I'm not great, but I'm above average. Let's just put it like that. Anyway, enough about me. um, what do you recommend for caregivers who are totally inept of music? They can't even play chopsticks on a piano. Their idea of a song is bang, 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 bang. Is there any hope for them? And they
Absolutely.
can't sing. They're like that movie, My Best Friend's Wedding, where the girl was at karaoke and she was just awful, and Julia Roberts was trying to humiliate her, but instead she was so awful, she was
Yes.
endearing, and everybody gave her a standing ovation.
Yes, yes. Honestly, no matter what, someone thinks their musicality level is, I recommend they walk into, a music store and talk to different people there. And many music stores and schools will offer, initial free lesson to get someone started to see if they're interested, to see if there's something they'd like to do. In fact, like for Make Music Day, which is not the holiday we created, but we help promote, comes up on the summer solstice in a couple of weeks.
Huh.
There's many places that are offering free lessons on a number of instruments, whether it's in person or it's, remotely,
Yeah.
via Zoom. And, just try something, sit at the piano, have somebody show you a few things, just show you a few chords. Now you're trying to, play Malagueña, which is the sheet music, and my goodness, Dave, that's difficult for a beginner, even to even think about. But if you give them just some simple chords and show them how to play that and show them how they could maybe sing along to You've Got a Friend or whatever their favorite simple pop song is from their era. That's how my daughter got hooked. When she was, for years, David, I tried to get her to sit at the piano bench with me and to learn, to teach her. Like, she just wasn't interested. But when she realized she could put her iPhone up on the piano, pull up the chords to her favorite songs, and start
Ah,
playing and singing along, all of a sudden it was like, Daddy, what's this chord? Daddy, what's this chord? And, she was teaching herself. I was giving her a couple pointers, but she does it now just for the pure
wow.
therapeutic benefits of it, the enjoyment she gets from it. And that's where I think, if the caregivers can just, if they think, even have an inkling that they might be interested in playing some instrument, put all the doubts aside. If they think there's a little inkling inside them that thinks that they might enjoy it, then try it.
Well, how
Not,
much interest versus talent is necessary? What if you have more interest than talent, or talent than interest?
honestly, talent isn't a requirement, David. Anybody can sing. When you look at some of the American Idol auditions, you see that. Uh, But
And they
you
really
don't
think
have
they
to.
can sing, don't they?
Yeah, some of them actually think they can sing. Yes, and but you don't have to have talent in singing or playing an instrument to enjoy it. You're not trying to be a performer. You're not, I'm going to go on stage and play. They're not committed like you are to want to go on stage and sing or play for other people. This is just for their own personal enjoyment. And if they sit down and, have some of them show them some piano things, have them show them maybe some ukulele things, maybe on the drums. It's funny, one of the gals who does a radio show that was at that event that and I went to, she learned in her later years to play the drums. And you'd look at this person and be like, no, really? You're going
I
to learn
played
to
the
play the
drums too, by
drums?
the way, when I was 12.
Oh, very cool. But she learned, in retirement age to play the drums and started taking lessons. And for her, it's very
Oh,
therapeutic. And she actually took it a step further. She learned well enough that she wanted to play with a band,
cool.
and she's taking it that far. But you don't have to do that. You can play drums with headphones and play along to, whatever music enjoys you.
Yeah. And I would encourage people, if you happen to be married to Simon Cowell, like I am, the ultimate music critic, and if you're just a tiny bit off on your pitch, it hurts our ears. It's you, oh, uh, I just keep going, because you can't let the Simon Cowells discourage you, right? Because that's
No.
how you learn. And I can honestly say now, I spoke at Carnegie Hall, and the first 10 seconds of my speech, I sang a song. So you see, I could
Really?
say that I sung at Carnegie Hall. How many
I
people
love
can say
that.
that?
Not many, David. Not many. I mean, really, it's
Listen, we're
just
going to take
about
another break, and we'll be right back. So please don't go away. We are a community of caregivers that understands and supports you wherever you are in your journey. We are a place to connect with other caregivers, but more importantly, a place to get practical, actionable help. There are lots of ways for you to get support. First of all, you can download our welcome pack. This will get you started on your Thrive journey. Next, you can ask and get answers to your questions by posting them here in our private Facebook groups. You can also get live online support by attending one of our live weekly Connect webinars. You can get practical, actionable advice by listening to our weekly podcast. You can hear and read other stories about other caregivers' experiences. Plus, add your own in our weekly Share Your Story forum, posted every Tuesday in the Facebook group. You can access essential resources and download practical Thrive Solutions packs, all of which are geared to help you thrive as a caregiver. You get lifetime access to all of our resources. Again, we're here to support you and help you thrive and to enjoy your life as a caregiver. And remember, this is a place to get hope, not just cope. And we are back to the Caregiver Dave Show. I'm Dave Nassani at caregiverdave.com, and my guest today, Vincent James. His wife, Joanne, who's not here today, but they're a team, and they help spread the magic of music. And you must really love what you do, obviously.
I'm extremely passionate about it, Dave. I mean,
And your
I've
wife
always
is
loved.
equally passionate.
Yes, yes, we're equally crazy together in a good way. I've always had music deep inside me, passionate. I could hear a melody just, I could literally give myself goosebumps just, imagining a melody in my head at times. But when I realized that I could use the power of music to help other people reap benefits, that's when I got really excited.
I was friends with a great songwriter and singer, Andre Crouch, and I spent many a night over at his house, and these songs would just come to him all the time. I mean, I remember when I spent the night, he had the TV blaring loud, and I said, "Why is the TV? How am I supposed to sleep with the TV?" He said, "I gotta have the TV on because I hear all this music and I can't sleep. It drowns it out." And I
Oh,
mean, he
wow.
reminds me of Mozart. He's got cassette tapes, a mountain of them on the table, because if he doesn't record it, it's gone. And he'll just sit down at the piano and just play something. I say, "Oh, that's nice," and he'll say, "Yeah, I just wrote that." He didn't really write it. He played it, and he was recording it, so now it's a song. And he's got
Yes.
enough for 3 lifetimes. But he's a little unorganized, and he's in the grave now, so may he rest in peace. But how unusual is that? These Mozarts where you write this manuscript and it's finished, it doesn't need anything, it's done.
It's honestly extremely rare. I wish I had that sort of gift. I have had, moments of time, where I have an idea for a song and it literally comes out, in like from above and through and out. One time I was requested to write a song for a mother who had given up her child for adoption. And she wanted to write a song about, if she ever would get to, meet her child again. And as a parent, I was just like blown away by her, situation. And I sat down on the piano and literally in, 30 minutes, it just came through me and out. And I did a recording and this was actually for a radio station contest that she won. I was thinking I was going to write a regular, typical romantic love song that was going to be the person that won the contest. And the person that won the contest had this story about the baby she gave up for adoption. And I was like, oh my God. And in that moment, you just take it in and it just comes out through your, emotional expression through your instrument and the words come, but to do that on a regular basis, that's very rare to have that kind of gift to just stream of consciousness come out.
Where does it come from? I mean, many people say it's a gift from God,
right?
That you're tuned in. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, all of the great songwriters, Elton John, the guy who recently died. I'm so bad with names since I got older. But how do you just pound out hit after hit after hit after hit, other than saying it's a gift and comes from God? I mean, some people don't believe in God, so I don't know where they think it comes from if there is no God. What's your opinion?
I definitely think it comes from God. It comes from, the greater power from above. And, we channel that, and there may also
be... Are these songs already in existence and we're just bringing them into this realm, into this reality? Or did they never exist before and we truly created it? There's a theological question.
Yeah, you know what, David?
Philosophical.
If we could figure that one out, we'd write another book together on it. I don't really know. I mean, there's some that say that every song is, has already been written, and we're just basically, rewriting it, tweaking it here and there. There's only so many unique melodies, so many unique chord progressions.
Well, that's what they say, but there's so much music out there, and
yes.
Even classical music. I mean, there's so different genres of music, and you wonder, well, when are we going to run out of music to play? Types of music, notes, lyrics. It's not ending. Is it infinite?
I feel like it's infinite, but I also feel like we recycle some of it over the years. We tend to bring back different styles, add a little bit of something current to it. 50 years from now, what's going to be the popular music of the day? I mean, hip hop has been, very common and popular for, 20 years or so, 25 years or so. What's going to be the popular music of, 20, 25 years from now? It's anybody's guess.
Is it my imagination, or is music getting more weird, less traditional?
Definitely less traditional. And I'll have to tell you, David, my favorite music is music that has a really good melody.
Yeah.
And if it's a hip hop song, unless there's some really cool underlying musical groove going on, which some of them do have, then I'm not really getting it, because it's just, talking in rhythm. Which is an art form in itself, but to me it's not necessarily musical, although there is a percussive aspect to it. But to me, traditional music needs to have some sort of a melody, and I don't know. I hope traditional music with melody doesn't die out, because to me, that's where the real nuggets of emotion come in.
Well, in the 50s and the 60s, the music industry had this formula. That music had to have three components. It had to start this way, and then you had to have a bridge or, some kind of melody, and then go back. I mean,
Right.
does that make any sense, or is that just something, because the Beatles just shattered that to pieces, right? The formula.
Yes, yes. I mean, over time, music industry will lock in on a formula because it's making them money, and they'll stick with it until somebody, creative comes along and says, "Well, what about this?" And then the public starts to buy into that, and then it starts creating a new formula that
Yeah.
the music industry, imitates for so long until somebody comes along with a new formula. I mean, that's what
That
hip hop
wasn't
did.
meant to be a formula at all.
Well, no, it was somebody's creative expression
It was
at that
anti-formula.
time. It was
Yeah.
anti-formula. But if it becomes popular enough, it becomes the formula that people try to imitate, which is, it's great. It's
Yeah.
still music, but, being the more creative we can be, the better.
Thank you. Well, we're up on our hour. Believe it or not, time flies when you're having fun. So, how can people get a hold of you for the many reasons that you're in existence for, which are, and I'll let you reiterate again, the things that you do, things that you can help people with, and the directions that you can send people to better their lives with music?
Well, the couple best ways would be for Keep Music Alive, the nonprofit, and for the two music holidays, Teach Music Week and Kids Music Day. The best way is to reach us at keepmusicalive.org. And Teach Music Week is one of the holidays in March where there's many places offering free lessons to get started. And then for the book series, 88 Ways Music Can Change Your Life, you can just type in 88 Ways Music into either Amazon or into Google, and it'll come up. And I also should mention that we're always looking for news stories. If some of your listeners have an emotional experience around music that they would like to share for another edition of 88 Ways Music Can Change Your Life in the future, we would love to hear from them. And 88waysmusic.com is a way they can connect with us and submit a story.
How did they come up with the number 88?
Well, that is actually the number of keys on the piano.
Oh, of course. So it's 88 Ways, the website again is 88 what?
88waysmusic.com.
Okay. 88waysmusic.com. I will check it out. And you have re-inspired me, my friend, to make a music list and to come up with some new songs on my piano. Thank you so much for inspiring me. And if you inspired me, I'm sure you inspired everybody else out there. I am so glad that we hooked up again after, what's it been, 3 years?
It's been about 3 years, yes. And I'm inspired again, too, to go back and learn Malagueña again.
Yeah. And this Thursday, actually, we're doing another National Publicity Summit in New York, but we're doing it virtually again. Last year we did it virtually. This time we're the producers looking for guests for the show. So now the shoe's on the other foot.
Yes,
so are
yes.
you planning on going back there for any reason? And,
I don't think I'll be there this month, but I'll probably be there again at some point.
Okay. Were you pretty successful when you were there in getting some pitches accepted?
Yes. And for the virtual, as you know, you actually get to speak to all the producers. Now you don't have to pick which ones that you're interested in. And I probably have made good connections with 30 to 40 that were interested in having me do something.
Yeah, we picked up about 45 guests on the last one, and it was just last quarter. So, I mean, I'm already booked out to November in my show because I do one a week. And now they want me on again. So I'm probably going to pick up another 40 or 45 or maybe even 50. So I'm going to have to start doing 2 shows a week. So I may have to start reducing the shows down to 30 minutes, which I guess is good because most people, don't like to listen to an hour-long podcast, but they're more likely to listen to a 30-minute podcast. But obviously we had a lot to talk about. It took 60 minutes, but you can't have your cake and eat it too, I guess. But thank you again.
You're welcome, Dave, and thank you so very much for having me on. And God bless you for all that you're doing for the caregivers out there in the world.
God bless you for doing all what you do for all of the music lovers in the world, including me. And again, a reminder, all our shows are recorded podcasts and videocasts on our membership website, caregiverdave.com. And until next week, we'll see you again. And again, my website for 3 free gifts, caregiverdave.com. It's an online membership website to help you survive, not just survive, but to thrive caregiving. Because, we don't want to just be hanging in there. We want to thrive. We want to enjoy life. We want to enjoy the journey. So again, have a great night, have a great evening, have a great day, wherever in the world you're listening to this, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.